Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of The Expendable Show. I'm your host, The Expendable. So there's a lot of stuff to cover, but first, if you like my show, like, subscribe, and ding the bell, please do that. A lot to cover. So we'll go over our statistics like we do every week. First, Carney's beaten Pierre Poilievre, the French-Canadian guy, conservative, 44.3 to 37.5. I don't know if their polls are right. Canada's kind of died down in the news, so thank God. It's boring talking about the Canadian things. Democrats still holding on strong to a 21% approval rating, but they're not worried about that. They think they're being highly successful, hiring the same protesters to go protest at the same rallies over and over and over again. They're doing a fantastic. That's the 21% approval right there. The rally goers that they pay to go there. Trump, however, his approval rating has dropped just a hair. He's at 46.7%. That's going to be due to the tariffs and the stock market being erratic. We'll see what happens after things start to settle down. Doge news. The Democrats' favorite bad guy, saving money. It makes no sense. I still don't get it. I don't get it. How can you make an audit that's going to save taxpayers billions of dollars a bad thing? It makes no sense. So we're at 150 billion on the Doge savings, which is 931.68, and on the debt clock, we're at 312 billion. So he's starting to get up there. And that's 27.81 per taxpayer. So things are starting to happen. Eggs this week. So 2024 eggs were $4.15 a dozen. They're down to $3.08, but that's up just a hair from last time we podcasted. But still, $3.08 is a lot better than what they were, last year with Joe Biden not knowing what he's doing. Gas prices $3.30 in 2024. They're $3.19 on average today. Which is a little bit lower than last week. They should significantly start dropping because the price for oil, a barrel of oil is really low. It's like $57 a barrel. I haven't checked this weekend, but last time I looked, it was $57 a barrel. So our gas prices should start going under $3 a gallon on average. I know here in my little neck of the woods in Georgia, the gas was $2.75 this morning when I went out and about. I had my cousin ask me one time, he's like, why is gas so much higher in Ohio than down in Georgia? He's like, why are you guys so low all the time? Well, if you go on AAA's website, they track the gas per state. And it's in their little chart, in their map of the United States, gas is so cheap in the South and in Texas, and I think like Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, it's cheap out there too. We're all like, if they would just take out the rest of the United States and just use those areas that I just said, the average gas price would be like $2.80 a gallon. So it's the rest of the United States that's higher. Why is that? Maybe it's because we've got all the offshore drilling in the Gulf and out in the Atlantic. Maybe it's because we've got more oil wells that we're drilling out in like Texas and Louisiana and in those places that makes the oil cheaper. Maybe it's the added transport costs to make it go from the south to the north makes it more expensive. I'm not quite sure. I didn't dig into it that much. But when you look at AAA's map, it is significantly lower the further south you go. Like I'm originally from Ohio, so my family in Ohio, they generally are paying just a hair more than what we are down here in the South. And obviously California is always one of the highest. Hawaii's gas is always really high because they have the added transport cost added on as well. So I don't know why it's like that. Now, when you look at the map, Florida is higher than Florida basically pays the same price. They're in that same ballpark with like the North. So I'm not sure why it's like that in Florida, where then you get to Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas. Then all of a sudden the gas prices are like 20, 30 cents cheaper per gallon. It's weird. But that's just how it is. And the South is always going to get cheaper gas prices, and then it seems to migrate north. So whatever we get, eventually you'll get. It seems, as I've been watching the gas patterns from here to back home, because I do travel every once in a while back up north to visit my family. So I'm always looking to see what their gas prices are all the time. I'm due to go back there actually and visit my children and my family. Hey Jenny Lynn, I see you over there in the chats. So the Dow, we're up to 40,213. So it closed. So since the tariffs got turned on, the Dow dropped to like 47,000. Now we're back up to 40,000. The high was like 45,000. So we still got a ways to go. But like I've been saying, and when you watch a lot of these, the economists that are actually know what they're talking about, the market was overinflated. So that 45,000 that we had wasn't real. I want everybody to understand that that wasn't realism. That was an overinflated market. So Trump kind of timed it out to where he could put the tariffs in at a time when the market was right around the time when the market was about to overcorrect or recorrect itself. And it all happened. So hypothetically, on a good end, we should probably be at about 42,000 in my little quick calculations. I'm not going to tell you guys how I calculate that, but it's really complicated, and there's a lot of facts and figuring involved in that. But that's where I see it on a good end. So that 45,000 that we started to like, that wasn't real. It was a temporary thing, and we were about to see a correction happen anyway. So just be patient with the markets. They're heading in the right direction. We're going to see a lot more ups and downs in the next week as these tariffs start to really start to impact these companies. Now, I think Trump is adding some bonus. Trump is obviously trying to get manufacturing to come back to the United States. One of the companies that he's really targeting is Nike. Now, as we're seeing with the information that just came out about designer stuff like purses and clothes and shoes, we have just been revealed that stuff's all made in China. They make it in China, they ship it to Europe, and Europe puts their designer label on it and then overcharges you by a lot. So you're basically getting cheap Chinese materials with a fancy schmancy label on it. So we've been getting duped by Louis Vuitton and Christian Dior and all those people in Europe and France that are really good at stealing people's money and duping people into giving them money. I mean, the pattern is there. Europe's not really doing anything honest over there. At least the leadership's not. So just be wary of that. And Nike's the same way. They make the Nike shoe for about $10. That's all. And the forces, China makes those forces for like $10 for a pair. And then they slap the Nike logo on there. Then they ship it over to the United States and they sell it for $150. So, I mean, if you're Nike, it's a good gig. The markup's there. Your profit margin is insane. Plus, you've got people working in those shoe stores, or I mean, in the sweatshops for 50 cents an hour to make those shoes. So China's getting a nice little markup as well. Trump's targeting Nike pretty heavy right now. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. Nike's already said that we're not moving back to the United States. We're going to stay right where they're at in China. Obviously, if I was the owner of Nike, I would probably do the same thing. When you look at what's going on, and sorry, I got distracted. Jasmine Crockett's on the news right now, and she's talking about only the illegals should be farm workers because we're not going to be the slaves. That's what the illegals are here for. We're not going back out in the fields. We need the illegals to do that. That woman is outside her mind. And her hair is a hell of a ton messed up. I don't know what she was doing before she gave this speech, but I'm guessing it was probably in the back seat of a car. Maybe not. I probably shouldn't say stuff like that, but that's what she looks. She looks like she just climbed out of the back seat of somebody's car doing. I'm not gonna say what I think she was doing in there. Oh, I figure out how to get canceled all the time. I think you got Shifty Shift and Nadler. They're all saying the same stuff. Who's gonna be out in the fields and pick all the tomatoes? Well, you guys are all about the racism thing, but man, you are quick to put the illegal Hispanics out in the fields. You hypocrites. Yeah, I think you're right, Jenny Lynn. That's why they're unhappy with the current situation. The Democrats are panicking right now, and I get we're going to talk about it here in a second, but I get impatient because I've been watching since Trump's first term, and I kind of started a big discussion on TikTok today, and I've been getting a ton of feedback on this video I made, but um, it was basically about like I need, and we're going to talk about it. We'll just talk about it right now because it's on my list. I'm getting fed up with Pam Bondi. And I know a lot of the diehard Trumpers are the 100% believing in Pam Bondi. I did too at first, but the more I started to look into Pam Bondi, the more I realized that she has her hands kind of intertwined in a lot of different things, specifically the Epstein case. So when Epstein was arrested the first time, when he had all those charges involving, I believe it was some minors, she was going to throw the book at him, and some government officials came down and said, Miss Bondi, he is an asset of ours from a 3-letter agency. So Pam Bondi gave him a slap on the wrist. Now that's not how I want my attorney general to work. I don't want my attorney general to go, well, I got to give him a break because some big shot at the federal government says so. No, your job is to prosecute criminals. It doesn't matter what side of the fence they're on, what team they're on, or what big billionaire shows up, or what high-ranking federal official shows up. These people need held accountable. So I'm a little worried about her integrity to get some of these things prosecuted. And now that she's stalling on the Epstein case, it makes me think, well, is there more to the story that she doesn't want to potentially implicate herself or some people that she's close to? She allegedly has all the files now. She only initially released like 200 pages, but apparently there's thousands more that have not been released. Why? I want them released. A lot of America wants them released. I want them released, and then I want to find out if is anybody on that list done something that we need to hold them accountable for, because that needs to happen. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. If you're on the Epstein list and you are found to have done something illegal, you need to be held accountable. This is how America works. Every time I've ever gotten in trouble, I was expected to be held accountable. So I think that should be fair across the board in the United States. Once upon a time, I was a younger shithead, and my mom worked for one of the most influential lawyers in our little country town. And when I was being a shithead, that lawyer would always get me out of trouble because my mom worked for him. And this happened for probably a decade. So I used and abused that. I knew that as long as my mom was working for this lawyer, I would never really get in any real trouble. And I should have, because had I learned my lesson then, I may be a little bit further on in life now. Because after my mom passed away, then I lost my get out of jail free card. So there's a lot of things that we can learn from accountability, and unfortunately, the opposite happens a lot of times, where we end up enabling the negative behavior, which is going to cause more negative behavior in the future. So it's one of those things where we have to learn to accept accountability. In America, we've lost sight of that. We've seen protesters and rioters get enabled by the system. Oh, it's just peaceful protest. But I don't care what you say it is. It's not what it is. You're enabling bad behavior. You're enabling property damage, which is going to cause insurance claims, which is going to cause higher premiums for Americans. So those little things that they are trying to minimize, that are actually big things, filter down to the American taxpayer one way or the other. And we have to stop that, because that's going to contribute to inflation. It's going to contribute to insurance problems. It's going to contribute to people's finances. As we still climb out of the disaster that was Bidenomics, we still need some breaks here and there to climb out. And we're starting to head in that direction, but we still have a lot of work to do. Trump has a lot of work to do. So adding fuel to those fires is not always a smart thing. Now, luckily, I mean, they're still hitting the Teslas and Tesla charging stations and whatnot. Mind you, when Pete Buttigieg was the Mayor Pete, when he was the transportation secretary, he spent $8 billion and built like 8 charging stations. So if we do the math, that's $1 billion per charging station. Now, granted, the charging stations don't cost $1 billion to build, but that's the effort that we got out of Bidenomics. I mean, granted, Sean Duffy's going to do a much better job at charging stations. He's going to do a better job at infrastructure. He's going to be more efficient with the money. However, that effect of burning charging stations is going to filter back down to the government, which is going to filter back down to the American taxpayer, because then they're going to go, we need more money to finish this project because the peaceful protesters caught everything on fire and destroyed it. So we can't enable that behavior. And Pam Bondi's got to start. I mean, she's rounding up all the Tesla arsonists, which is good. I'm okay with that. She seized her with the help of Kash Patel, and I think the DEA was involved. They seized $510 million worth of drugs from the cartels in one sting. That's a success. She's doing a fantastic job. She's going to get massive convictions out of that. The Tesla protests, she's getting those. She's cracking down on MS-13. And and my dad just reminded me. So Judicial Watch, which is a very, very good ultra-conservative group that basically, when they see something they don't like, they file a lawsuit and get the FOIAs and the Freedom of Information Act, and they get the information they need and they expose it. They did sue Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice for the rest of the Epstein files. So that is currently in litigation right now. So we'll see if that forces her hand. She's going to have to give them up. If she refuses, that's going to cause a problem. Trump's probably going to have to dismiss her. What we're not seeing out of Pam Bondi, and this is what caused some turmoil amongst my TikTok followers today, because I was a little ultra critical of Pam Bondi, and I'm not going to stop just because they want me to agree with the ultra MAGA movement. I have high expectations for her. I believe that we have been collecting evidence for the last 8 years on these people, and especially the Steele dossier. J6, we have at least 4 years worth of information on J6. The Epstein files, we have years of decades of information on the Epstein files. We're not seeing her do a whole lot with that. And they keep saying, well, it takes at least 6 months to a year to build a case. We've been building these cases. All she's got to do is review the information that Congress already did oversight congressional hearings on, that some law enforcement has already done investigations on. We just need to compile it all, have her team of 50 lawyers look at it and make a determination. Is this prosecutable? Are the elements of the crime available, or are they not? Let's get them prosecuted, or come out and make a statement and say there is only circumstantial evidence, no smoking gun to prosecute these cases. I want to know one way or the other. Are you going to prosecute them or are you not? Because you're not going to be able to get by with just letting time go by and hoping that those fires just die out. They're not going to, because Trump ran on accountability. He ran on draining the swamp the rest of the way out. He ran on let's hold these crooked politicians accountable. I'm waiting on it. I want it to happen. And I think it needs to happen sooner than later. Out of the conversation that I had on TikTok, I'm going to say probably 50-50 on conservatives. 50% said, yes, we need to see results now. And the other 50% said, well, let's give her some time. She's only been the attorney general for 3 months. I see both sides. I am passionate. When my emotions get involved, my patience goes out the window. So I'm already over here with Pam Bondi shit or get off the pot. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to try to be a little bit more patient, but I need to start seeing some results, especially with the Russia collusion, the Steele dossier. There's uber amounts of evidence out there. This should already have been done. People should have been indicted. Cash should already be pulling people into the FBI office and interrogating them. We should be seeing this all over the news, but we're not. So I'm waiting on this to happen. Now, she is making good progress, but I think she's hyper focusing on the more, I mean, they're severe, but they're not as severe as the problem that is causing these other minor severe events. Yes, we need to crack down on drugs. Yes, we need to crack down on MS-13. Yes, we need to crack down on other crime. But if we crack down on the people who are funding the crime, then we can make a lot of progress, because a lot of these people can't do anything without the funding. They're sitting around waiting on Open Society Foundation to cut them a check to go do something. And I've seen this. This isn't just me being hypothetical. Here on Craigslist in Atlanta, you can literally go on there any day of the week and find a posting where NGO is asking for volunteers to protest at $200-300 per hour. It's there. Every city probably has the same thing. That's how they nab up these protesters. They all know, hey, just get on Craigslist and look for the post. They'll pay you and they'll tell you where to go. That's their career. That we have career protesters, and that's got to stop. I mean, they have every right to make money off of protesting, but the people funding these cataclysmic events, that's got to stop, because that's dirty money. It's dirty money because it's coming from Open Society Foundation, and everybody knows it, which comes down to another point. Why is Pam Bondi allowing George Soros to continually come into our country, throw his dirty money around, and cause chaos? If you go look at his interview that he did back in, I think, 1978, I don't remember who was giving him the interview, but George Soros said, I hate America. I hate everyone in America. It is going to be my life's work to tear this country apart. As the Democrats are scared to death of one man, Donald J. Trump, George Soros has that same effect. He has the ability, and he has proven it since he's made those statements, that he does have the ability to divide this country and cause problems. He can, if we allow him and his little minion son, Alex, to keep infiltrating our colleges, keep infiltrating our minority groups, and keep funding these woke ideologies, these migrant ideologies that divide countries. It's never going to end if we don't stop Open Society Foundation. They need investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. They need all of their money audited. Where is it going? Who's it going to? What is it being used for? Just like in India, they've already caught Soros red-handed infiltrating their elections. I'm waiting to see what's going to happen out of that. I hope he gets indicted in India. We need to do the same thing here. We can't just let everybody do our dirty work for us. We got to eliminate some of these problems. Pam Bondi needs to get it. She also needs to go after Act Blue. Act Blue is a money funneling terrorist organization. And I'm not saying that as proof that they are. I'm saying that as, if I was to classify them, I would say that they are the financiers of domestic terrorism. So when you go look, every time something from Act Blue pops up, it's followed by some bullshit every single time. Problems, money laundering, funneling money to corrupt people, funding violent protests, encouraging violence. This is what they do. And then they took the money from the wildfires that Elizabeth Warren was put her link on there. Oh, you want to help the wildfires in California? Click on this link down here. It went right to Act Blue. What's Act Blue? Act Blue didn't give a single penny to California for wildfires. They give lots of money to Gavin Newsom and some of them clowns out there and shift. So that's Pam Bondi. So let's move on to Kash Patel. So Kash Patel, he's got some of the same issue, although he is investigating. I'm going to give him a pass because he's the investigative branch of this. So I do feel like that Kash Patel is constantly shoving files in Pam Bondi's on her desk. So this week he did suspend FBI analyst Brian Auten. Kash Patel talked about him in his book, Government Gangsters. Kash Patel accuses him as being a part of the deep state. Kash Patel did investigate him and found that he's a problem in the FBI, so he is suspended. I'm waiting to see what's going to happen with that. You're not seeing them talk about that on the major media, not even really on the conservative media. But this is a big move to get rid of bad actors in our government. There's been a lot of other firings. Trump's fired other people this week that were anti-constitution. They were anything that had anything to do with improving America, they didn't want it. So Trump fired. Now I'm going to go back because I was on my dear friend Jenny Lynn's show, which is called Conversations with Jenny Lynn on YouTube. And it was interesting because she said, let's do a show because I have a lot of people that pay attention to what you say and they have questions. So Jenny Lynn compiled a lot of questions. Now, what's significant about this show is it makes it a little bit different than what I do normally is a lot of her listeners are professionals, lawyers, judges, doctors, things like that. And they're liberal. So it was a bit of a challenge to me because I wanted to see how my message resonated with academic liberals. And so we did the show and we talked about some of the issues that she brought to the table. And I thought the feedback that Jenny Lynn shared with me was pretty positive. They seemed to think that it was good information, that they were entertained. And so I think we were successful. And I'm hoping what happens is I can get through to some of them that, hey, it's not always good to turn your TV on and let that information soak in because it's not pure information. It's corrupted information. It's the same thing with Fox News. They give you corrupted information. And it just depends on, what they want the talking point to be for you to absorb. And so I think we did a good job. And I urge you all to go over to her YouTube page, Conversations with Jenny Lynn, and watch the episode. I liked it, and I'm going to continue to do it again with her. So we did challenge her audience to that if they have other questions to submit them, and I will look into them and give them my take on it. So I'm excited to see what they come up with. Yeah, go check it out. It was a good show. Had fun. And Jenny Lynn did a fantastic job as always, being the host and moderator. You can tell she's a professional and does this, she's made a career out of this stuff. Because she just flows so smooth in her show. I'm still learning. I get a little choppy sometimes, or I get off track because I want to talk about other stuff. Let's jump into the tariffs. So I was looking at some data. Sarge, hey man, it's been a minute. Glad you jumped in. So I'm going to talk about the tariff war because it's getting a little intense. So Trump and China. So everybody else is basically on a vacation right now from tariffs because Trump said, "Hey, let's put a pause on this," which is why the stock market's recovered. But he upped the ante on China because China didn't want to play ball. So they, I'm waiting on my Doge dividend, Sarge. I'm waiting on my $5,000 check. You should be getting one too. Just write Elon Musk and tell him that you're waiting on your money. But so Trump, where we're at now is Trump has a 145% tariff on China. China has a 125% tariff on the United States. So it made me think. So China has vowed, they said, "Oh, we're going to fight this until the end." What constitutes the end? That's my question. Is it China goes bankrupt? Because they're not going to be able to bankrupt the United States. Our GDP is too high, and we have business deals with everybody else and their mom. So what's the end? The only end that I can think of is China goes belly up. And so is that what Xi Jinping is saying? I will fight this until China has no more money? Because I feel like that's where he's going with that. And I'm fine with that. China needs put back in their place. So as I was going through data, so I try to look at comparisons between how China treats us, the United States, India, and Vietnam, because those are my market target areas that I think we are going to be shifting to as opposed to China, Vietnam, and India. I think they're going to be our primary trade targets, and we're going to migrate away from China, which is why Trump is playing hardball with China, because he's trying to take them out of the game. So when you look at the baseline, so China has a baseline tariff with India, Vietnam, and the United States well before 2025. Everybody had a 10% baseline. They pretty much had this across the board. So no matter what the material is, what goods you're getting or dealing with, China's charging you 10% right off the rip, no matter what country you are. Now, we won't cover that yet. So currently we still have the 10% baseline. They didn't take that away. Sarge said, I think the government should do an eminent domain on China's property. I agree with that. I don't think we should have China just buying up our farmland and setting up a lot of shop here. As we could see from the Biden administration, something I talked about on Jenny Lynn's show, China's doing too much. They have strategic outposts all over the place. They had their own police department here, and a lot of people didn't realize it was happening. Like their own jurisdiction, and then we found out and shut it down. But they're trying to set up shop here, and then they had their spy balloons, and then who knows, what was going on with these drones that were everywhere, which I saw probably a dozen of them last weekend when I was sitting outside, just chilling out in the dark on my patio. I was watching stuff, and I was talking to Jenny Lynn on the phone, and our other friend Mel. And I was like, well, there's a lot of drones out here, because I lived pretty close to Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. So you could say, well, Eric, those are probably airplanes. The airplanes have a flight path that they take in certain directions. And from my house, they come from the southeast and the southwest, because I'm south of Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. So they come from the southeast and the southwest. Everything that was flying, it was flying much lower, and it was silent, and it was flying in all kinds of different directions. It wasn't like in the normal airplane flight paths, and you could tell the difference between a drone and an airplane. So there's a lot of drones out last Saturday night. I watched them. So back into tariffs. So when we look at electronics, because this is where China gets you, they get you in certain aspects of market. So in electronics, China ups their tariff to 20% with India, Vietnam, and they gave us a break on electronics before 2025. It was 10% still. So that was kind of good. Then I go down and I look at rice. So when we look at rice, that is their baby. That's the highest commodity that they give tariffs to. So they have a 34% tariff added on to their baseline right across the rip to everybody. India, Vietnam, the United States. Now, these tariffs are still in place for India and Vietnam. Now, the United States, since the tariff war started, China upped everything to 125% across the board. They said electronics are exempt, but I'm not seeing that in my research. It's still showing me 125%. Maybe that changes tomorrow. I don't know. Same thing with soybeans. So in the agriculture department, soybeans is 34%. So it seems like the food industry, they're charging us a lot more. Now, that's where, when you're looking at these percentages, you're going, well, that doesn't seem like such a big deal. But here's the kicker. So we, the United States of America, we have a 10% tariff on electronics. We have a 30% tariff on solar panels that China has to pay. So we do have our sectors, but that's all changed. 2020, after the tariff war started, we're up to 145% on everything. So this was before 2025. Now, in 2023, China collected $110 billion from us in tariffs. In 2024, China collected $125 billion from us in tariffs. What did we collect from China? 2023, we collected $13 billion from China in tariffs. Last year, 2024, $18 billion. So their surplus is so big on us. And here's where Trump's talking about that China screws us. Because we buy a ton of stuff from China, but China doesn't buy anything from us. And that's where they refuse to buy American-made products, but they pretty much stronghold the world to buy Chinese products. So we have that issue going on with China. And this is where Trump was right, because when I was breaking down the percentages, I'm going, well, this doesn't quite make sense. Yeah, 34%, but they're charging everybody 34%. Now, this is where I think where Trump is being smart. He's right. China screws us. The data's right here. I just gave it to you. Now, what Trump has done is he's saying, hey, India, we'll charge you no tariff if you take your tariffs off, and we'll do $500 billion in business with you. India says, bet. So now India is just as technologically advanced as China. They have the population to build all these manufacturing centers. We could get the same deal with India, who's more inclined to buy our stuff as well. So China loses a customer, or they lose a big hunk of it. They're going to lose the United States as a customer. They're going to lose India as a customer. Those are two huge consumers that they're not going to do business with anymore. Now, Vietnam's the same way. Vietnam is a major textile manufacturer. They make a lot of clothes. They make a lot of handbags. They make things that we buy religiously every day. So where does that go? Like I said, we go back to the beginning. China's going to bankrupt themselves. They're going to find themselves in a corner where they have no friends, no consumers. So then they have the agriculture strategy in the United States. Why do they do that? Well, we can't necessarily go buy Chinese beef or poultry or pork because the shelf life's not going to make it in a shipment. Hey, G bro, what's up, man? I see you down there. So we have the shelf life's not going to make it to the United States. So what do? They come over here and they buy mega farms, and they put these mega farms everywhere. They buy up thousands and thousands of acres of land. They use it. They farm their own crops. They have their own farms. They have their own cattle. They have their own hogs. So what? That's bad. We can't have China doing that because they're going to destroy small farms. We can't have that because they're going to sell everything, they're going to process everything cheaper. Everything they do is going to be cheaper. They're going to put small farmers out of business because they're not going to be able to keep up with mega farms. Now, what else can happen? China can they can inject their animals with whatever they want. They can poison us if they want. They can put so many chemicals in their crops that's going to cause us damage. You look at the China virus. So the coronavirus obviously was made in China, and we now know that it was a leak from the Wuhan lab. Who's to say that China can't leak something into our food supply? That's not going to work. We can't have China doing that, and we shouldn't trust them. Yes, we are a free market, free enterprise for anybody who wants to do business, but China's not one of them. We shouldn't be giving our adversaries free reign to create massive commodity here that they can start to manipulate the markets with. I don't like that. I think Trump has got his eyes on it. I've even seen Gretchen Whitmer talk about it, that she would like to minimize China's effects. Speaking of Gretchen Whitmer, she went to the White House this weekend. And there's a picture floating around of her where they were trying to get pictures of her at the White House, and she was holding up her folder so nobody could see that it was her. Well, everybody knows it was her. So she covered up her face, and then she went in and talked to Trump and agreed with so many things. She started agreeing with Trump on stuff. Well, yeah, I want to do this. Yeah, I want to do that. I think you're right. I think the illegal migrant problem is a problem. I think the Free Palestine people, that's a problem. The liberals went nuts on Gretchen Whitmer, and this is gonna cost her in the future. They're not gonna be able to trust her. Every time somebody sides with Trump, just like Bill Maher. Bill Maher was invited to the White House, and Trump has been so critical of Bill Maher. But when Bill Maher got done, he went on his show and he said, "You know what? The Trump we see on TV isn't nothing." He said the guy in person is great. He listens. He's receptive. He's kind. He's patient, and he's calculated. And so I thought it was really good that Bill Maher was able to tell that side of the story. And naturally, the liberals are going crazy on Bill Maher. Like, well, are you siding with the orange man now? Bill Maher is just a guy who calls it like he sees it. Yeah, he's a liberal, but he's an honest liberal for the most part, I think. And, if somebody treats him right, it seems like he's going to come out and he's going to treat you right. So I think they had a good conversation there at the White House, and it showed. He talked highly of Trump. He said there's things I didn't agree with him on, but he was kind to me about it. So I thought that was pretty cool that he did that. A big story. I'm conflicted, but I'm excited at the same time. Scientists have brought back dire wolves from extinction. Now, it's exciting because I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. So I want a dire wolf now. But I feel like we're playing God, and I'm not sure that's a good idea. I think we're playing Jurassic Park, and I don't think that's a good idea. I just saw a statement where they said they want to do the woolly mammoth next. Do we really want these massive animals that are going to be alpha apex predators roaming our ground? Because what are you going to do? You're going to make dire wolves and then put them in a cage? What's the point of making them? What's the point of bringing a dire wolf back if you're just going to put it in a cage? Or you're going to repopulate everything, and it's going to be having a giant wolf out in the woods that's going to compete with bears. So that there's a lot of things that I'm not real sure that people thought through all the way. I mean, yeah, I want a dire wolf really bad. If somebody wants to make a collection or a GoFundMe to get the expendable, a dire wolf, and I'll have him right here beside me on every show. Well, he'll be up here. His head will be like up this high. So if we can get a collection and get me a dire wolf, that would be super sweet. And yeah, hopefully he doesn't try to eat me. But they look super cute. So last thing I want to talk about, big UFC event this weekend. I watched it. It was exciting. President Trump was there. He got a standing ovation like he always does every time he goes to UFC. Trump showed up. He was with Elon Musk, Cruz, Rubio, Tulsi Gabbard, Cash, RFK, Byron Donalds. Like when was the last time you remember a president who hung out with his cabinet and they went out and did stuff together as a unit? That's how you can tell that this cabinet's on the same team. I didn't see Pam Bondi there. Just saying. Tulsi Gabbard was there. I bet you if Kristi Noem wasn't running around catching illegal immigrants, she would have been there. She's running around with assault weapons, catching immigrants. I don't know if that's true, but she looks good in the photo ops. But she is out there. She's probably, hey, stand back here. Let the ICE agents go do their job. But you can take pictures with them when we catch the bad guys. And then the one video, she was doing like a Dog the Bounty Hunter kind of thing. It was funny. I don't think anybody's called her out for it yet, but I'm doing it right now. Kristi Noem was Dog the Bounty Hunter. They caught that one guy, and she was talking to him like, well, why would you do these kinds of things? What do you have family here? Do you go with Christ, bro? I was like, oh, it's the big bad Dog the Bounty Hunter. But I like Kristi Noem. I shouldn't make fun of her, but it reminded me of Dog the Bounty Hunter. But Trump, they all got a standing ovation. All the fighters were giving him mad respect. The one that I wanted to watch, Paddy the Baddie Pimblett. He's what is he? Is he's British or is he Irish? I can't remember. Now I gotta look it up real quick. I think he's British, but he's like the scrappy gypsy British. Okay, so he's from like the Liverpool area in England. So he is considered a Scouser, which that's the type of like kind of like band of people that he belongs to. It's just like if you watch the movie Snatch, they talk a lot about the Brad Pitt in that movie. He's a pikey. He's a bare knuckle fighting pikey. Well, so the Scousers they don't get along with the pikeys. So that's they're like a band of like gypsy people. And Tyson Fury, the boxer, he's kind of in that little band of gypsies too. But he's exciting because he says the Scousers don't get knocked out, and ain't nobody knocked him out yet. He's 7-0 in the UFC. But I was watching his fight, and he was so exciting because the dude's like a shark, man. He just goes and goes and goes and goes. And he was fighting Michael Chandler, who Michael Chandler's no slouch. And Michael Chandler just didn't have anything for him. Just Paddy the Baddie was just tearing him up. So it was an exciting fight. Trump was there. The fights were all good. Trump got a standing ovation. And it made me think, like, as the Democrats struggle to find their masculinity, which is really, it's really weird. As they try to figure out how to be masculine again, you've got Trump over here, who's gets the respect of the military. He strengthens the military into men. The UFC, the fighters all love him. You've got the all these hardworking country boys like him. The inner city black men like him. He's popular in the inner city black men. And so you have these masculine alpha males that already are on Team Trump, because we like seeing people go out there and kick ass and take names. And that's what Donald Trump does. He stands on business, and people like that. I respect someone who says they're going to do something and then they do it. And they don't care who's in the way. They just get it done. So I think that's a big deal. And I think that we need to continue to build this up amongst our men, and bring that back. If we build up our men and keep them as masculine men, and remember, we got to take care of our families, we got to take care of our children, and bring these family units back together, we're gonna have a real strong America. And the Democrats aren't going to be able to do nothing about it, because they not only can they describe what a woman is, but they sure as hell don't have a clue what a masculine man is. So there we are with that. But that's all I got for today. Everybody be safe. It's going to be like 80 degrees here all week, so I'm about to get my tan on. And I'm going to try to go to the beach this weekend. We'll see how that works out. But I'm out. Peace.